Today, we are diving into a very powerful topic: invisibility at work and the hidden cost of being undervalued. Some of the most talented people are not burnt out from the workload. They're actually burnt out from being unseen in the workplace. Here's a hard truth: no one is coming to give you the recognition you deserve. You have to advocate for yourself, advocate for your value, and stop waiting for recognition. You have to speak up and claim it, because if you don't, invisibility might as well be your job title. I have been there, and I've always had to fight for the promotions I knew that I deserved. Invisibility for me was never an option. It took time, resilience, and the willingness to advocate for myself. I did not wait to be chosen. I positioned myself to be undeniable. I made it a point to stand out, to consistently highlight my value, and confidently say, I deserve this promotion. That is why I'm so thrilled today to welcome back Kari D to the conversation. He's joining us to explore what it really means to embrace your self worth. Before we get into that, I do want to share a powerful quote from Kari. It reads, and I quote, "Being undervalued comes at a price, not just in dollars, but in missed opportunities, unspoken ideas, and the quiet erosion of confidence. When potential is ignored, growth stalls." End quote. Now, let's go ahead and get into this key. All right, welcome back to the channel. I'm so thrilled to have you back today. As a senior executive and leader in business development, can you start by sharing your insight on the real hidden cost of being invisible at work?
Ken, thank you so much, man. Appreciate you having me back, man. It's always an honor to hear from you and connect with you. I think a lot of it really stems from a couple of things. One, there's a cost of being undervalued because there are folks that are out there and they're doing the best that they can. Many of them are exceeding their goals. Many of them are doing everything that they've been asked to do, and over an abundance of so.
Mm.
And what happens is, after being looked over and passed on for promotions or not getting what was contracted with them in terms of expanding teams or management opportunities, they start to shut down. And so there's a cost to that. There's a cost of just going through the motions, not doing extra. There's a cost of just doing the bare minimum, and it hurts productivity. It hurts their reputation. And then from a business standpoint, if you have employees that are not just going out there and just killing it every time and are holding something back, it's hurting their bottom line as well. So
Mhm.
there's costs on both sides of it. There's costs from a personnel perspective, and there's also a business sense that is being actually calibrated and also being underutilized because they're not reaching or seeking their true potential.
Very interesting. So what do you think people can do to kind of get out of that place of feeling,
Yeah.
especially so if, I mean, I have been overlooked for promotions many times,
Mm.
applied for jobs, didn't get it, but I always made sure that didn't stop me from going forward. I made sure that I positioned myself, that even if I didn't get the promotion or the job, that I still continued to excel, put
Mhm.
myself out there, made sure that I sat in front of the right people,
Mhm.
involved myself in conversations with the right people, so that when the time came, I
Yep.
could with confidence say, hey, I'm here. You've seen me and you know what I can do. And this is why I deserve to move forward in this organization. So, what
Yeah.
are some of the things that you think people can do who are kind of stuck in that place where they see themselves as what we call going through the motions,
Yeah.
and just doing the bare minimum at work, but still knowing that they want to achieve something more? What can they do
Absolutely.
about that?
Yeah. So there's a couple of things that I would like to lift up. Number one, I think you need to be very vocal about what
Mm,
it is you want and be very crystal. and be very specific and be very intentional. My thing is always, Ken, I don't wait until those annual reviews, or don't wait until things are really, really tense in terms of, hey, I'm upset because you've been overlooking me. I don't wait for
Right.
that. I
Right.
really try to be proactive and saying, hey, this is what my goal is. And as my manager, how can you help me get to what that goal is? Regardless if it's a raise, or it's a promotion, a title change, or expanding my team or expanding my responsibilities. How can you, as my manager, as my advocate, potentially help me to get to that goal?
Yeah,
And
that's
so,
important. That's
so that's
key.
the first thing. That's the first thing. You
Yeah.
got to be vocal about it. And you know how I do. I like to tie in, real practical know-how with reflections of the Bible, right? So
Right.
in this instance, I'm going to pull in James 4:2. In James 4:2, and I'm going to paraphrase it, it says, "You do not have because you do not ask God." And specifically, what that means from a professional standpoint is being very vocal about what it is you want, and ensuring that that aligns not only with what the business says, but
Mhm.
what God will want you to have.
Yeah.
So it's also looking at your alignment, your purpose, what it is you want, what it is you desire, but how does that align with what God has in store for you? Okay.
Yeah.
So that's number one. You got to be vocal about it. Number
Very much so.
two, number two, I always look at the landscape that presents itself. And so if there is an opportunity that you say, hey, you know what, I've been doing this, I've communicated with my boss, nothing seems to be happening, what's next? And then so I look at, does it mean that I need to stay here? Does it mean that I need to stay in this role? Does it mean that I need to look at other opportunities? So I look
Mhm.
at what the landscape is presenting me with. And if it means that I need to go outside the organization or potentially look at a different role, that's okay. That's
Yeah.
all right. Because I think the first step, as we talked about, you got to be vocal about it. But then if there's nothing happens after you're being vocal, then as that saying goes, once bitten, twice shy. So if
Right.
I reach out there and I'm trying to do this thing, I've done what I can do, but I'm sticking around even though I know nothing's happened. Well, that's on me at that point. So
Yes.
I look
Yeah.
at the landscape and I say, well, hey, I've tried that. That's not working. I'm not getting what I'm looking for.
Mhm.
Maybe I need to start exploring, having external conversations, and then start talking about what it is that I'm really looking to do, even if it's outside of my current place of business. What does that
Yeah.
look like? And again, I think you need to tie that back in with, Lord, what do you want me to do? Is
Yeah.
there another opportunity? Is there something that I need to work on in advance of this making this move?
Right.
And the third thing is, I think in between the first step, the communication and looking at moving, you also should get feedback. So, hey, whether it's from your mentor or some of your peers or your colleagues, or you're directly from your manager, hey, this is what I'm looking to do. This is what my desire is. This is what I believe my purpose is. What am I missing? What are my blind spots? What are
Yeah.
those things that I could work on that I don't necessarily see, that you see, that I need to lift up? What are
Right.
those things that people are saying about me after I leave the room? Kind of
Mhm.
like that bumper sticker, right? I'm walking out the door, you see my bumper sticker, but I don't see it, right?
Right.
And so what does my bumper sticker say to you about my abilities, about my responsibilities, about where I aspire to be? Is it
Yeah.
something that you don't see me doing? And if so, tell me why. What can I work on? What feedback do you have for me? So those three things, and not necessarily in that order as I listed them out, but I think first thing is communication. I think it's also about looking at other opportunities, and it's also getting that feedback from others on those things that you need to work on, that you desire, and that goal, what you desire to be.
all three of those points are very keen because I think it all relates to having those hard conversations
Mhm.
in the workplace. A specific example is I remember working for an organization and was doing everything I needed to get to the next level.
Yeah.
And I had that conversation with my boss. Hey, so what do I need to do to get
Yeah.
to the next level? What do I
Sure.
need to do to apply for this job and get that job? And so I had that feedback from my manager at the time, and I
Yep.
did all of those things. And so then when the opportunity came up, when there was an opening, I applied for that job and went to my manager and said, "Hey, this job is open. I'm throwing my hat in the ring." And I
Yep.
remember at the time she said to me, "Oh, I don't think you're ready. I think you need to do this, and you still need to work on
Mm.
this." And I think the
Yeah.
important part of those three steps you mentioned is one of them is also coming with the receipts, because that's what I did in that situation.
Right. That's right.
She said I wasn't ready. And so
Right.
I remember I had taken notes about what she said I needed to do. And so I
Mhm.
went back and I got my notebook and said, "You asked me to do this. Check,
Yep.
done. Oh, you asked
Yeah.
me to do this. Check, I did it.
Yep.
You asked me to do this. Check, I did it. I have met
Yep.
all the requirements. So you tell me why I am not eligible for this
Yes.
promotion."
That's
And
right.
she had to circle back and look and say, "Okay." And ultimately, back and forth conversation, having those
Yeah.
hard conversations, I
Yeah.
ultimately ended up getting the job. So it just
Alright.
goes to show that I mean, this was years ago. I've had different situations, but that's just one that comes to mind.
Yeah.
But it's about having those hard conversations and being able to advocate for yourself and know your self worth, as we say. So, yeah,
Absolutely. And I love what you did in that situation, Kim, because what you did was, in a sense, was you contracted what those things were. You
yes,
had those specific details, and you worked with your manager and said, "Hey, if I do X, this is a check mark. If I
right,
do B," and that's not alphabetically in order, but you
yeah,
get the point.
yeah,
X, Y, and Z, right? And so if you do
right,
those things, you contract in terms of, hey, I'm eligible for that
absolutely,
advancement. I'm eligible for the next step according to what we agreed to. And so you're holding that manager accountable, not only them, but you're holding yourself accountable too, because you're saying, hey, I'm agreeing to what we outlined, what we're contracting,
right,
and I'm doing my part in that. And so basically, what you're telling me is if I do that, I exceed that goal, then we're looking for that next step. And so that's something that I really encourage a lot of people to do is look at how you can contract with your manager or your leaders on those things that you need to work on, those things that they're coaching you on, and if you do those things, then the next step happens. And so
absolutely.
contracting is a very important part of those next steps and those opportunities and how you can look at a career advancement.
Yeah, and I think a lot of organizations, also need to understand that when their people thrive, when your employees thrive, and when those
Yeah.
employees are seen and heard, and you see
Yes.
that advancement, think of the knowledge that is gained from that and the expertise that is gained from that, and what
Yeah.
those people can continue to contribute to the organization, because no organization will really thrive when their
Yeah.
people feel invisible. And I
That's
think that
right.
that's an important note, for organizations is to make sure that they are acknowledging the achievements of those
Yeah.
employees,
Yeah.
recognizing them, and giving them the opportunity for growth and advancement.
Yeah. One of the things too, I think that people get frustrated on because there for a long time it was this misnomer that, hey, if I just do what I'm supposed to do, keep my head down, stay out of trouble, I will get noticed
Yeah,
and good things will happen. Well, the reality is that not only do you need to do what you're supposed to do, you need to be a good steward and you need to do your job and do everything to the best of your ability, but that's literally like just table stakes now. That's what
yeah,
you're supposed to do. But the other part is that you have to lift it up. So I think a lot of times what happens with people is we get frustrated because for so long we just thought, hey, I just need to do what I'm supposed to do and things will happen. And so before that frustration sits in, I really encourage folks to model that behavior and also that dialogue with
Mhm.
others to make their voices heard. And so
Right.
before you get frustrated and you're seeing things are not happening, before that happens, be very vocal, be very intentional, and
Mhm.
be very transparent without assuming good things are going to happen to me just because I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Right.
Because often that's not the case. We have to advocate on our behalves for ourselves on what success on our terms looks like, what
Right.
that next opportunity for us looks like. And again, tying this back to scripture, we also need to invite God and others into that process. Lord, I'm asking you to do your will in this, and so that you can cover me in the way that
Yeah.
you want me to be and represent your kingdom. How do you best position me to do that and doing this job and this responsibility as well? So
Absolutely.
I encourage folks to not only just sit around and do their job, but also be proactive, be intentional, be transparent about what it is they truly want. And also, an important step of that is asking God what his will is with it and his
Yeah.
intention for you to be
Yeah.
successful.
That's the bottom line is that
Yeah.
you have to advocate for yourself because no one
Yeah.
else is going to do it.
Nobody's
So,
going to do it. That's right.
yeah,
Exactly
you know?
right.
Yeah. So, yeah, this has been, a very, very powerful conversation. So I think it's important for people to understand their self-worth, not
Yeah.
sit by the sidelines and let opportunities pass you by.
That's
If you
right.
see something, if you're working in an organization and you want to get to that next level within leadership, you
Yep.
have to be proactive and take the right steps to position yourself to be seen.
Yes.
And I think that that is what has been helpful and made my career successful is that I always made myself seen. I went above and beyond, but then I also had those hard conversations with
Yeah.
my management team in any situation, at any
Sure.
job that I was at. I had those conversations with my management team to say, what do I need to do? What are
Yeah.
people saying? Like you said, what are people saying about me when I walk out, when my back is turned?
Yeah.
Tell me what I need to do. And
Yep.
then make sure, like I said earlier, come with the receipts because you make sure when you have those conversations, make sure you're taking some notes. This is what I need to do. This is what
Yeah.
she said. Document
Yeah.
that. Do that. Come with the receipts, and then
Yeah.
they have no choice but to recognize your achievements. So,
Yeah.
that's yeah,
I
very,
think the
very
other
powerful.
Yeah, and I think Ken, to the other part of that is while you're waiting on these things to happen, I think it's also a great opportunity to help others.
Yeah,
Whether it's volunteering, whether it is mentoring somebody else, whether it is coaching somebody else up. Um, I think when you help others, good things happen. And
good
it's
karma,
not
baby.
necessarily Yeah, that's right. It's not necessarily out of selfishness that you're doing this. You're doing this to help other people. But I think good things happen as a result of you helping others. And so a lot of times when you're thinking about opportunities and you're looking at, career advancement, what have you, by establishing yourself as someone that people can trust,
Mhm.
someone that is seen as being responsive, someone that is responsible as well, and being able to take on additional responsibilities and assisting other people, that goes a long way in showing that, hey, this person is trustworthy. This person
Yeah,
is a team player. This person is a collaborator. This person is willing to go above and beyond. And that says a whole lot about who your character is. And I think good things will result from that. So while you're waiting for something to happen, think about how you can help other people out and be a good servant leader as well.
yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah.
such a good conversation, and we
Yeah.
could go on probably for hours and talk about it. So, but we can
Yes, sir.
certainly we've got some other episodes planned with you, so we can always pick these conversations back up
Absolutely.
and dive into them a bit more deeper. But this is such a powerful conversation, and Kari, thank you once again for coming on and sharing your leadership, your wisdom, and your clarity on such a vital and important topic. As a final point, I wanted to share something else that you said that actually
Mm,
resonated with me.
sure.
And I quote from you: being valued isn't a luxury, it's a
Mm,
baseline. When
mhm.
we stop settling for less, we create space for ourselves and for others to be seen, heard, and uplifted. End
Yeah.
quote. So
Yeah.
that's exactly what you just kind of mentioned there. So any final yeah, that's why I thought that was such a very, powerful quote from you. So any final comments to the audience?
I just say, hey, keep pushing, keep striving, keep doing those things that you can control. And then also, I say it all the time, but I always try to consult with the Lord, ask Him what it is that He would have you to do, and then listen to what He's telling you. I think a lot of times we go and we say, okay, I prayed on it, and you just kind of move on. But I would continue to have those conversations, those dialogues, not only with him, but with your managers, your
Yep,
leadership team, and with others, and getting that feedback. And again, like what we talked about before, just doing the bare minimum, just doing your job, that's table stakes. That's not even the key to entry at this point. You have to do more than that. And part of that is being an advocate for yourself. So I think with those things, that is a good recipe for success. And then
absolutely.
when you do those things, like you said, keep hold of those receipts, contract with your manager. And then if those things aren't working for you, then be real with yourself, take a self assessment on
Mhm.
what you could be working on, and then don't be afraid to look at some of those other opportunities that may be waiting in the wings for you as well.
Absolutely. Change is always good. So change is
Yeah,
always good. I say
yeah,
that. So
it can be refreshing.
absolutely. So to you're absolutely so to our audience, are you fighting to be seen or have you accepted invisibility? If so, what you going to do to change? How are you going to change that? Drop a comment below and let us know how you are advocating for yourself to become the leader you were meant to be. And remember, align with those who truly see you and leave the spaces that don't. Speak up, stand tall, and make yourself visible. Thank you for joining us on Talk Time, where we always have those conversations that matter. Ciao.